Alright, hey everybody, welcome back. So I said I was going to do a little bit of how to draw the human figure, which is why I have this little guy right here, little mannequin right here. This is a guy that you can get pretty much any art supply house, that you find, any place where they sell drawing supplies. And this is just something, it's another tool to use as a guideline for posing. And you can use this as like, just a basic guide of how your figures look when they're in certain poses. They have much bigger ones of these, much more advanced ones with more articulate movements and things like that you can get. Obviously much more expensive, but simple enough. I mean, it's just another tool just to give you an idea of how your figure looks in particular poses from certain angles to help you get an idea of foreshadowing, whatever. You can make these guys into whatever pose you feel like. Just about. They're pretty, just a simple one like this, you can probably get for about $10, and they're pretty articulate in and of themselves. They have all sorts of things, like this little divot right here, just to let you know where the center of the chest is. They have you'll notice there's a little bit of a angle on the face to give you an idea where the center of the face is, where the nose would be, basically there. And that's that. So I'm gonna give this guy just a generic running pose, I guess. We'll go with that, just to get an idea of what kind of thing we're going to be drawing here. I'll set him up here above all my stuff. And I don't know if I showed you guys this last week in my drawing, but yeah, I do have these pencils that, like this one here is pretty small. It's been well used, but if you think that's bad, I actually draw with pencils up to this size, or down to this size, I should say. So I'm actually going to show you that I do actually use pencils like this, because I don't draw like a lot of people. Typically, I don't draw like this, how you normally write. I actually draw a lot of times like this, because it's easier to shade right, and you don't have all this pressed up against your paper to do that when you're drawing. So if you draw like this, you have much less contact with the paper, less chance of smudging your work. So so we're gonna get started here, like I said, and also got our eraser here in case we need to correct any mistakes here. This is a putty eraser. I don't know if in case anybody out there is really new to drawing and doesn't know, this is much better than the erasers that you get on the end of your pencils, because they don't really wear out that easily. And when you think they are, all you do is just stretch them out a little bit, smash them back together, and you're all good. These also don't leave as many shavings, so you don't have all that stuff that you're having to constantly wipe off there. I mean, like this eraser here on this pencil, this is worn out. This is hard as a rock. It wouldn't erase a damn thing. So definitely recommend getting yourself a putty eraser. Now, drawing the human figure. All right. Typically speaking, there's a few different sources you can use with this. A few different sources you can look into as far as how to draw the human figure, and it's usually just circles, a whole collection of circles. So start with this one line that just sort of tells you where your figure's going to be. Okay, and then you draw your head here. And the head starts out with one circle, and then draw your chin underneath it with a nice little oval there. body is just a sort of square shape like this, a little bit tapered towards the waist. Then you want to draw one circle for your shoulder, an oval for the arm, or the biceps, another oval for that, and circle for the hand. This is just to get an idea of what your figure looks like. Just to get your base of what your character is going to look like, the general shape of them. Obviously, the reason you do this in pencil is because when you go back with pen, you're going to fill in more details and stuff like that. And once you go back in with a pen, that's when, after that, you go in with your eraser, erase all your pencil marks, and you've got your drawing. So now that you've got that, okay, basics of the human figure. Human figure is generally 7 heads tall. So what you do is you'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? That's a very basic rule. Obviously, not every person is the same. So anytime you take an art class or read a book where they say this is the rule, that's the basics. That's the baseline. That's where you start. After that, you go on and you figure out how to draw things that are completely different. You can create characters. If you read, there's a great book out there on how to draw the human figure. It's called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. It's written by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It was actually one of my first drawing books, and it's very, very informative, and gives a lot of insight into how they created these great characters that we all know now, especially thanks to the movies that have come out here in the past few years. Several years, and it's really, really informative. It's a really good book. I highly recommend if you're wanting to learn how to draw. And they, in that book, actually say that typically speaking, their characters are drawn 8 heads high. Their regular, normal human characters are typically about 8 heads high. That's why their characters are so imposing and intimidating as superheroes. Is that they're much more large. So again, going over this with a little more detail, just to get a better idea of the character's shape. And I'm not exactly following the lines that I drew, just because I'm now going in with more detail and giving these characters, giving them more depth and everything. And it's starting to actually draw in some of the anatomy of these characters. So chest here, and drawing much more detail. So, again, I apologize if I'm relatively quiet during most of these videos. I do get relatively focused when I draw. And if you guys watching these have any questions for me, please leave something in the comments section. I'd be happy to answer. Anything you want me to show how to draw. Or would just like me to draw, whatever. And again, turning the page, because it's easier to turn the page than turn your angle of perspective, you know. So that's the basic human figure right there. And obviously you can go in with more detail as you go. Drawing the abs here. And now the human face. I'm going to go into more detail on this in future episodes, but yeah, the human face is pretty interesting. Trying to draw. There's a lot of basic rules as to how to draw this and get the basics down. And there's a lot of tricks to this. And obviously this guy is going to have a lot less detail, because when you have a character that you're drawing like a full, size character on the page like this, there's not a lot of detail. There's not as much detail as when you have like a close-up. And you'll notice with my characters, they're a little more stylized. They do have that comic book kind of feel to them. Because a lot of my influences in drawing were people like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. My major influences were probably people like Frank Miller for the style, but first and foremost was Stan Lee, because like I said, that was my first drawing book, was How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. A little bit of, a little bit of comic book, a little bit of manga in there, but not much. I mean, obviously, manga is a lot more detailed detailed than this in a completely different style, and nothing wrong with it. It's just I took more inspiration from comic book characters than American comics than Japanese. Although I gotta say, I love some Japanese anime out there. And I'm jealous of people that are able to draw like that. It's a really cool style. It's just not my thing. So, and there's also with this, it's like, you know, that's your basic human figure right there. You know, obviously, like I said, there's a lot more detail than that, really. The anatomy is things you need to work on, practicing, because there is all sorts of elements to human anatomy that you want to get right. Otherwise, people tend to notice when certain things don't quite match up with human anatomy. They notice this. I mean, it's really something that like people see when it's not right. They notice it because obviously they see it every day. They're always like, you know, something doesn't look right about this. Something doesn't look right about that. And they're always willing to tell you what's wrong with it, but they'll never tell you like how to fix it or anything. And right now I'm just literally adding in sort of like a costume for this guy, you know, just a very basic idea for what this guy's wearing. You can do just about anything with the costume design of your characters. Simple lines too, you know, just create that line going around the contours of the figure, and there you go. You know, just a simple line like that around the calf, and now all of a sudden he's wearing a boot. He's Canadian. A boot. No, kidding. Bad joke. And shadows like this are to create the muscle tone, things like that. Again, pay attention. You want to pay attention at least to some degree where your light is, and that way your shadows are consistent. Drawing with pencil, interestingly enough, drawing with pencil is very similar to drawing with charcoal, in that you're dealing with shadows and shading versus dealing with lines and shapes. Whole different ball game, but you know, same general league, really. And if I were going to finish this with pen, you know, you'd go behind this with the pen, and you know, fill in the shadows, harden the lines, things like that, just to get it looking a lot more clean. This is just to get an idea, basically, behind it. And obviously, the parts of the body that are further away from the light source are going to be more in shadow than the rest. So darken the legs in almost completely. Imagine he's probably also wearing some kind of dark pants here. So oops. Mess that up. Again, see, no pencil shavings. I did not do that on purpose. It was actually an accident. just a perfect opportunity to demonstrate what I was talking about with the eraser. And again, further away, the further back the body part, the darker the shadow. So you're going to put a darker shadow behind the on this back leg here, and almost completely black out the leg that's back here. Cover this a little bit here, a little bit where the back of the boot is here. Just to kind of get an idea of, what this would look like. Get rid of some of those softer lines. Let me just erase those real quick here. You can also do this where you just kind of pinch the eraser to a sharp edge like that, so you can erase tiny parts between the lines if there's certain lines you don't want to erase. And if you screw up, just, if you do happen to erase more than you wanted, just go back and draw over again, It doesn't take much. It's just like anything, just picking up the pencil, practicing. Like I said in my first video, anybody can draw. It's just a matter of picking up the pencil, putting it on the paper, and practicing. I mean, my first drawings were stick figures, just like everybody else. And again, like I said, this is just a basic idea of how you get taking something like this and working it into something like this. That's really all there is to it. Like I said, just practice. And then, learn all the details. Learn the basics first. Figure out the basics of the human figure, where everything goes and in what proportions. Once you get all that, then you can start finding your style. Creating your own characters in much more detail. This is a very, very basic drawing of the human figure and human anatomy. You can get plenty of books all over the place on human anatomy. How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way by Stan Lee. There's another book out there called How to Draw Cutting Edge Anatomy. That's one that actually really helped my style, helped me learn the general musculature and skeletal structure and everything of these characters. It also shows you that you can do different size characters, that not all the characters you're going to draw are exactly 7 heads high. You can make characters that are up to 12 heads high or 13 heads high. All it is just, changing the anatomy a little bit. And you can end up with some really, really cool characters. You come up with all kinds of different designs. with that, you got characters that are in a lot of detail like this here. This is a pen and ink drawing that I did a long time ago. It's a little freaky. This was out of my twisted imagination there, just to give you an idea. And then you've got, you know, other characters like this. So, you know, this, it's a lot of practice, and, you know, finding your style and figuring out, learning the basics, finding your style, and then just continually practicing whenever you get a chance. Just like I said, again, just pick up your pencil, no matter how small it is. It's not the size that counts, it's how you use it. And put that pencil to paper, practice, see what you can come up with. Like I said, if you have any questions or want me to, you know, show you how to do anything, please leave a comment on the video. If you like this video, found it instructional, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content in the future. And thanks for watching.